In 1975, Australian symphonic rockers Chetarca released their eponymous singular album on WEA Atlantic, and from it, the treble. Yes, the track Chetarca from the album Chetarca by the band Chetarca. That's a treble. Okay, that was Chetarca by Chetarca, and it began with this cymbal hi-hat intro that led into this brisk, closed cadence, staccato organ figure in G minor, amid bars of what seemed to be 6 and 2, like a brisk like 6 followed by a 2. So adding up to 4, adding up to 8 anyway, or 4/4. Um, and then let's see, the bass line. I was trying to take all that in as this like bridge passed me by, and then this bass line mirrors the organ cadence. Yeah, the bass line. Within a minute, I started really noticing the bass, that trebly, kind of staccato bass notes that were just running by really fast. Uh, the bass line was mirroring the organ cadence, running upwards and back. And then maybe about 2 minutes in, this spacey sound on the organ heralded this midsection run of sustained organ notes up and down the keyboard amid contrapuntal bass runs and rapid fire drum rolls. And then the tight metal rhythmic figure resumed. And at that point, even though the vocals were the muddy production made it hard to understand the words. I couldn't really catch all that as I was taking in all the music, but I did notice nonetheless the rather theatrical master of ceremonies delivery of the vocalist. And a few comparisons come to mind. One, he kind of reminded me of the singer of Brainchild, the UK brass rock band from 5 years earlier. Yeah, Lunatic Owl. And let's see, slow down at the 3-minute 55-second mark thereabouts. Trebly bass line in mid-tempo this time. I was wondering if that was a Rickenbacker bass. Very, I have to say, Squire influenced, but that was almost too obvious to point that out. Amid churchy organ sustains. And then finally it heard some piano taking over. There was perhaps some piano playing before that, but I was noticing more the organ, although piano and rapid fire piano runs is like one of the signatures of this album. I mean, in fact, they have like a piano set of keys, like great. That's like the centerpiece of the cover. Interacting with a scaly upward bass or upward downward bass, and then some tensed up drum rolls, and then a harmonica passage amid further organ bass drum roll interplay. Yeah, that's one of the more unique aspects of this album, you could say. Like harmonica and piano runs kind of characterize this album amid that trebly fluid bass. Yeah, you don't hear a lot of harmonica in symphonic rock. And then toward the end, the psychedelic organ sustain amid further piano runs, and then back to the prior movement. Yeah, I was going back and forth between a few ending passages, and then we seem to end on the harmonica solo, slowing down a little bit more, and then taking us off to the sunset there. Yeah, Chetarca from the album Chetarca by the band Chetarca. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the term may have been coined, for all I know, by an RYMer who made a directory of trebles. Yeah, a title track from a self-titled album. Yeah. Bands don't often have title tracks on self-titled albums because doing so means that they're also coming up with a theme song, and not many bands write theme songs. And it's interesting to think that that bands will often have title tracks off albums with titles, but they will also often title their first albums eponymously, and And those are the albums that tend not to have title tracks, yeah. But when they do. Anyway, let's hear another track off the Chetarca album, a shorter one, Another Day. Was Another Day by Chetarca from the album Chetarca. And this one was much more of kind of a soul rock gallop. Began with that galloping drum, trebly bass run, characterizing the verses basically. Wailing harmonica, heard right up front. And this up-down two-note organ riff in A minor. And a bridge in C minor, which is an odd place to get from A minor, because C major is the relative major of A minor. Those two quite related, there's a strange when you go from A to C minor, you end up creating kind of a tritone because C minor has. The third in C minor is E flat, which is 6, which is 3 whole steps upward from A, and so you're creating a tritone. Yeah, Anyway, saloon piano midsection amid sustained organ. Yeah, and more galloping rhythm. And then a harmonica solo against some blocky keys. And the verses resume, and toward the end, some soulful belting refrains. Yeah, putting in quite a good performance there, the vocals, well, all of them. And a lot of exuberance, um, just a lot of vigor in this. Just a bit more of kind of a rootsy feel mixed with just that dazzling. You could say if overall the band you are indebted to the the nice early ELP school of symphonic rock. This track has some kinship with the output of Lee Jackson's post Nice band, Jackson Heights. Yeah, interesting. So bringing in kind of both, calling upon both the Keith Emerson and Lee Jackson outgrowths of the band, because Jackson Heights would get into kind of saloon like territory, and often do these like exuberant songs like on their those albums like Bump and Grind, and the one before it, Ragamuffins, I think. And none of these guys apparently went on to anything else except bassist John Rees, who went on to Men at Work, yeah, and performed on their prime albums, Business as Usual and Cargo. And playing a bit more subdued. I would have to go check Men at Work again just to listen to the bass, because I don't remember any of the bass work being so frontal. But then again, on this recording, everyone's competing. It's like one of those bands where everyone's trying to be up front in the mix, despite the muddiness of the actual production done by one Ian Miller. And what I understand about this album is that only 29 production credits according to Discogs. Colored Balls, Jim Keys. Oh yeah, one of these people appeared on the that Jim Keys of the Master's Apprentices. One of these guys has a credit on that Jim Keys album from 1974. Yeah, The Boy from the Stars, and that's like the only other credit outside this album. Let's see, Bruce Bryan plays synthesizer and co-produces the album. Lyrics, technician. Oh, but the main keyboardist of the band is Andrew Vance. Yeah, he's the one who appeared. He appears on one track off The Boy from the Stars. And drums by Jeff Gallent. Talented individuals, but according to Discogs, nothing outside this album. Yeah, Andrew Vance is also the vocalist on this. And yeah, 1,000 copies of the original album, according to the History of Aussie Music blog. Yeah, this the big epic on this track is, of course, the side B Ocean Suite, made up in a three-part suite, but that might just be a subject for another installment. It would have taken me longer than than the duration of this video to cover that, to just cover the song without my commentary. Anyway, yeah, and I love the cover, yeah, with its keyboard themed, and I looked up the word Chetarca, and it seems to not refer to anything other than this band. Yeah, curious about the origin of that name, but maybe it's had to do a little bit more digging to find out about that. Yeah, anyway, for more Rubies and Sapphires from the Chetarca album, see the directory of albums by Australian artists linked in the description below for red hot tracks and purples from the Chetarca album, as well as other albums in the Antipodean symphonic vein, from Australia and New Zealand, like Rainbow Theatre, Ragnarok, the Kiwi band Ragnarok, early Dragon, early Split Ends, yeah, Sebastian Hardy, Aleph, and then many other veins of music from this part of the world too, like well, glam rock, like Space Waltz, space rock, folk rock, early new wave, hard rock, yeah, you name it, post punk, synth pop. And like and subscribe, follow me on social media, share the video, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the two tracks we just heard. The layers, the interplay, the intensity, the energy, the lyrics, if you manage to understand them through this somewhat murky production and all. The interplay, the dazzling counterpoint and everything certainly came through. Yeah. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled Tramax most, signing off.